If I told you that tiny piece of paper you feel at your fingertip right now is not actually an object made of wood, would you believe me? It is in fact the frozen state of a drop of sweat not yet spent, and a signature someone else has scrawled over your future. When you realize while sipping your morning coffee that you have traded exactly 3 minutes of your life for those beans, never to be returned, reality begins to crack. While you sacrifice your finite heartbeats for a cup of caffeine, a man sitting on the terrace of a villa in Monaco buys a massive yacht with a ghost. That man is not using his own money. He is using an illusion, a promise that represents the future labor of you and your yet unborn children. This is the secret theater behind closed doors of the ultra wealthy, where the gravity of mathematics does not apply to those who own the state. We are told that taxes and work are the two sacred pillars of existence, but for those invisible hands holding the strings of the world, these pillars are merely decorative suggestions. They have mastered a trilogy of absurdity that allows them to escape the system's gravity, float, and avoid financial weightlessness. Academics have given this strategy a name, but we can simply call it time theft. It all begins in those quiet and grand corridors of the University of Southern California, with the act of hoarding monsters that professors call the acquisition phase. Chasing a paycheck is nothing more than painting a giant bullseye on your back for the taxman. The wealthy, however, focus on acquiring silent entities that sit in the dark, do not speak, do not get hungry, and grow heavier with each passing day. These assets are the mute giants of a portfolio that appreciate for decades without waking a single tax cell. As long as the owner does not press that magical sell button, the state remains like a ghost sitting in a dusty office who has lost its glasses. While millions of dollars accumulate in the basement, the eyes of the system are too blind to see this wealth. But let's stop claiming this is a rational economic decision. It is actually a collective and feverish delirium we are all in. As a species, we have decided that if a number rises on a glowing screen, but no one physically touches that digit, it isn't real. This is that vast and dark divide of the modern age where elites build invisible mountains that no one else is allowed to climb. Now,
but don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.
Those palace-like mansions without ever selling these mute monsters. This leads us to the borrowing phase, perhaps the most elegant and dangerous trick played upon human history. The wealthy leave those mountains of shares on a bank's cold desk, and the bank gives them a massive amount of cash in exchange for a promise. When the state looks at that cash flow, it does not see income. It sees only a ghost that must be repaid, a debt, because the taxman sees a promissory note instead of a paycheck. That money flows into the bank accounts of the wealthy without leaving a single feather behind. With a debt, one can buy private jets and mansions, cross oceans, and the system thanks you with gratitude for this paperwork. The interest rates on these loans are lighter than the gravity on a dead star, usually hovering around 2 or 3%. Yet, the assets backing that money continue to grow at more than 10% per year. This is a massive perpetual motion machine fueled by that unshakable and blind faith that the future will always be more expensive than the present. When your monsters grow much faster than your ghosts eat, the universe is actually paying you to spend. This is a liquidity cycle that allows the wealthy to stay rich and even add more wealth to their riches by politely declining to participate in the rigid reality the rest of us are trapped in. While you run away from debt, they build a fortress inside of it and they reinforce the walls of that fortress with your taxes. However, this theater is not limited to individual actors. Giant corporations also play leading roles on this stage, like snakes eating their own tail. By buying back their own shares from the market and inflating their own value with artificial oxygen, these structures consume future labor today. While you sweat in those factories, those at the top polish the numbers on paper to buy themselves a new slice of time. The most terrifying corner of this artificial paradise is the zombie cities in the heart of modern metropolises. Those windowed safe deposit boxes where no living soul breathes. Those glittering towers in the heart of New York or London are vertical, reinforced concrete deposit accounts where the wealthy hide their riches. While the person on the street looks for a roof, these buildings rise silently and rapidly toward the sky like financial sculptures. If you are wondering if there is an end to this digital illusion, that end is actually a beginning. The final act is the moment the ledger is closed, which most people see as the end, but which we must view as the ultimate escape. When the architect of that fortress exits the stage, tax law presents an inheritance gift that would make even a magician lose their mind with envy. Thanks to the legal miracle called stepped up cost basis, all capital gains accumulated in that basement for 50 years suddenly evaporate instantly. When the heirs climb to the top of that massive mountain of wealth, the system resets everything to today's value. It's as if that 50 years of growth never happened, as if that money was never earned. The entire past is erased and the page becomes pure white. All ghosts are banished with a single signature and the wealth is instantly placed into the palms of the next generation without a single tax stain. Family wealth doesn't just survive this bloody transfer, it emerges from
But don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.
It's like watching the founding of a dynasty, but the only difference is that articles of law are used instead of swords. What is being told is not a conspiracy theory, it is a system architecture proven by the sequence of secrets leaked from the inner rooms of the IRS. We live in a universe where billionaires pay less in taxes than the woman who cleans their house or the teacher who teaches their children the alphabet. Using debt as a shield and time as a sharp sword, they have silently stepped outside the social contract. Perhaps you think this divide remains only in the physical world, but the algorithms you use every day are also digital sentinels of this pyramid. Those codes, which decide who stays visible and what information is buried, are actually creating a new kind of class distinction. While you produce free content on those screens, that data transforms into massive financial assets to feed those mute and very hungry monsters at the very top. In fact, this elegant dance of the elite is nothing more than a giant mirror of how the entire global economy functions. The world we breathe in is a cathedral of debt rising on the frail shoulders of generations not yet born. We call this growth. We call it progress. But if you look very closely in a dim light, you will see it as a massive Ponzi scheme covered by a national flag. Every banknote in your pocket is not a piece of value. It is merely a paper created as debt by a bank, like pulling a rabbit out of an empty hat. According to that dark alchemy called fractional reserve banking, it is enough for the bank to keep only a symbolic portion of your deposit in the vault. The rest spreads through the system like a virus, building that great illusion where we all supposedly get richer. The world is currently drowning in a sea of debt exceeding $300 trillion, and the equivalent of this figure does not even exist in the physical universe. This means if we wanted to close the ledgers today, we would have to pay 3 years of the entire planet's collective labor in advance. Today, we are stealing the dinner of our grandchildren's grandchildren, and because the restaurant lights are still on, we think ourselves very clever. Consider that if a country has more debt than its annual production, that country is actually managing a virtual reality. Have you ever asked yourself why, in every crisis, those at the very top double their wealth while the morsels on the middle class's plate get smaller every day? Because the system did not break as a result of a mistake. It is working exactly as it was designed, to suction upward. This giant pyramid can only stand as long as new victims join the base and continue to pump money upward. However, when the biological reality of the planet begins to change, that foundation, once thought unshakable, begins to crack deeply and slowly. The fact that more adult diapers are sold in Japan than baby diapers is not just a statistic. It is a silent footstep of an approaching economic apocalypse. Retirement systems, once glittering promises of social security, have now turned into demographic bombs. The money you deposit every month is not waiting for you in a secret vault. It is burned instantly to pay the salaries of those retiring today. So, when your turn comes, who will stand at that empty vault and present you with the fake papers of that day? But let's stop saying this is a rational form of management. It is nothing more than a state of collective insanity.
But don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.
Our money had already become a slave to pure faith and paper. Since then, we have been swimming in that absurd theater where money is a word falling from the state's lip and the engine turns only on debt. When the machine starts to smoke, central banks perform a ritual they call quantitative easing, which is a fancy way of covering old lies with even bigger new lies. While they pump trillions of new papers into the system to save those at the top of the pyramid, they leave that massive bill on your table under the name of inflation. Inflation is actually the invisible, silent thief of the modern world. That thief does not steal your wallet, it merely shrinks your clothes and pocket while you are wearing them. Inflation is the resident sacrifice that the system demands every day to stay on its feet for one more year. It is the uncomfortable grinding of teeth as the pyramid tries to chew up the future. Every time a bank saves a market, they are actually tearing a piece from your life and handing it over to those dark ghosts. If the money you saved 5 years ago is now nothing but a dream, where do you think that value went? Value did not disappear. It was simply evaporated willingly and silently to pay the system's debt and added as pluses to the bright ledgers of the elite. When will you accept that you are in this meaningless race where the finish line is constantly pulled further away the faster you run? We have normalized this giant structure and respectfully called it the economy. However, a structure that demands infinite growth on a finite planet is a fiction merely waiting for disaster. History teaches us that these bubbles always burst. From the tulip mania to the asset mania of the 80s, every time we watch the collapse with a fake astonishment, as if mathematics hadn't given us the answer months in advance. The real tragedy is that while the rich play three-dimensional chess at table where they write their own rules, we are only taught to play checkers. While the system is designed to reward those who take on debt, we are told to save and be patient. We are those naive, lower-tier guests who arrive late to a finish party where the host has already left through the back door, taking the silver sets with them, and we are expected to pay the bill. The financial system is a crazed, living, and breathing giant monster that eats its own tail and consumes its own tomorrow. It is not there to protect your savings, but to turn that massive wheel at any cost. You are not a partner in the global economy. You are the nameless and silent pieces of coal thrown into the boiler so that the happy minority in the penthouse doesn't get cold. Even the education system demands your years and your credits to turn you into a smooth gear suitable for this machine. You are taught how to work with obedience, but the dark nature of money or how to buy time is never whispered in your ear. Yet, true wealth is the luxury of deciding for yourself whose day it is when you open your eyes in the morning. To escape the trap, you must feel deep within you that those rules taught to you were actually written by the owners of the banks. Real wealth is not found in those promises hidden between a politician's lip or in the code of an algorithm. It is hidden in the things the machine cannot print, cannot steal, and cannot borrow, namely in your talents, in your land, and in that solid network of people you know.
But don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.
It is in such perfect harmony with one that one would have to be deaf not to hear this dark melody. This tower will stand only as long as the base continues to feed it. However, faith is a fragile glass, and when that glass cracks even slightly, the fall will be brutal and sudden, like everything built on sand. You are standing at the very bottom of this giant tower of debt that reaches to the clouds, and you are told it is an unshakable foundation. But the truth is that ledger will eventually be closed, and the maturity of that final balance will surely come one day. And when that day comes, the only thing that will matter is what you have built outside of that theater and what you managed to save from the hands of those hungry ghosts. If you are willing to look at the silent patterns of history instead of the noise of the headline, all the answers are waiting for you there. The game was rigged against you from the very beginning, and most of us consumed our lives without even knowing we were playing by different rules. Now that you see the architecture of this terrible trap with your naked eyes, the only question left is how many more years of your life you will sacrifice to support this pyramid. If this whisper has opened a new window in your mind and you are curious about the real stage behind that curtain, take your place in this sanctuary immediately and subscribe. We will continue to bring those dangerous truths forgotten on the dusty shelves of history to light one by one, because true freedom begins with noticing, cutting those invisible strings that control the system one by one. Which brick do you think will be pulled to bring this massive structure down? Or will we continue to borrow with those ghosts forever? Share your thoughts in that dark comment section waiting below, because every single word of yours forms a new line of objection in this great ledge. Start building your own financial fortress today and be one of those who remain standing when that storm breaks. I invite you out of the cold and soulless operation of the system into a real and deep conversation. You are never alone on this journey, and every great revolution begins with a single person noticing that grand illusion. Instead of swallowing the dust of the stage, the time has come for you to get to know the real actors behind the scenes. Remember, wealth is not just numbers. It is what you have left when those numbers burn. In the next whisper, we will address those larger and quieter players behind this theater and the real games they refuse to play.
But don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching.
What would truly remain that belongs to you? If your answer is only silence, the time to take the strings into your own hands has long since come and gone. This is not just a story of money. This is your secret war for your dignity and freedom. The first front of this war is your own mind. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to that ancient and deep silence beneath the endless noise of the system. Truth is waiting for you somewhere there, and we will continue to whisper until we find that truth together. Take care of yourself.